Morning, everybody. Today, we're having a Crook County work session agenda. Today's Wednesday, January the 15th, 25, and it's 9 o'clock a.m. First of all, I want to make an announcement to the agenda. There is a change on the agenda. Katrina and Randy agreed to postpone the community development report. Thank you for that. We're sorry that we can't listen to you guys chat, but we have a pretty big agenda today, so they have changed it until the 29th. Do you have any other things for the agenda change?
No additional changes.
Okay,
Thanks, Brian.
public comment.
Your public.
We're good. Any public comment online? Well, hearing that, we'll move on to the discussion items. Number one on the agenda is Republic Service and their fourth quarter update and financial report.
Yes, please.
Here for Republic, I'll let them introduce themselves also, but it's Courtney, Erica, and Tom.
Okay, you're on.
Awesome. Do you want me to press or are you gonna press?
Just give me a head nod or if you want to, it's whatever you call.
Yeah.
It should just be, you have to just click on the screen sometimes and then arrows will work.
Got it. Okay. Very good. All right. Good morning. My name is Courtney Boston. I'm a municipal manager for Public Services. I'm here with my general manager, Erica Heitzler. Tim Long, our operations manager for this area, may be walking in shortly, but he's dealing with an issue at the office. So, thank you for allowing us to come in. We are going to jump right into our presentation. Maybe. Hey. A lot of this information we've been over a couple of times, so we're not going to spend a lot of your time today talking about things that you probably already know. We will jump right into an overview of our operations performance from 2024. And I'm going to let Erica do that here.
First, good morning. Thank you for having us today. The first slide that we're going to talk about is our operational service statistics. So we wanted to show our year-over-year information. I know this is a lot of numbers, but to summarize and highlight, so in 2024, we have provided these areas, and this is combined with the city of Prineville and Crook County, so it is combined information, so note that. But we provided the area more services in 2024 compared to 2023, and we've been able to reduce our. The team has really focused on service. I mean, we've heard a lot from the community that our service is poor, that we really need to focus on it. We need to provide the community a lot better service. And I think the data is starting to represent the efforts of the team and the improvement that we're starting to see. In no way are we saying it's perfect, but we are seeing some improvement. So this is just highlighting that we are seeing that improvement, both in our commercial line of business and in our residential line of business. We're seeing a year-over-year improvement. So, any questions before we move?
Hey, all right, this is our call center data from 2024, not shown here. So we had around 15,000 phone calls come into our call center from Crook County and Prineville combined. And I think that there are a couple of things that I just want to highlight. We are seeing a reduction in the number of calls, which I think speaks to the improvement of our performance on the ground. There's a direct relationship between how we're doing operationally in the community and how many calls we see into the call center. So that's a really good indicator that things are slowly moving in the right direction. I think the other thing that I just want to highlight is we moved to a consolidated call center model that has been a point of maybe contention and frustration for some of our communities. When Erica and I started 2 years ago, we knew that was going to continue to be a challenge, particularly in Crook County and Prineville, where we've always had community have direct access to our office. So we have reopened that. You've heard me say that before. And we are seeing an increasing number of people coming in through the door every single month. Those numbers increase. So people are utilizing that resource. We're really excited about that. And I think that has actually contributed to some of the overall improvement in sentiment towards the company. Any question about call center data?
I have one. It has improved a lot. And you said there were 15,000 calls.
Correct.
Is that 15,000 in January 24 or December 24?
That's the entire year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, we'll see spikes, in call volume for different things, weather-related events. If we're short-staffed for some reason and we're rolling the route or delaying a route by even a couple of hours, we send out notifications to our customers. But customers will still call and ask, hey, where's the truck? So you'll see kind of periodic spikes. If you look at the data every single day, if we've moved a route even 2 hours, you'll see a little bit of a bump in call volume.
And things like if we do a price increase, we
Yeah.
generally see increased call volume, customers calling in and asking questions. This is our customer service information. So Republic Services sends out surveys to our customers. This is all done by a third-party company. It's NPS data. NPS is actually a global survey metric, so it's not just something that Republic Services does. Fortune 500 companies kind of across the board do this metric, send out this survey. And this really speaks to customer sentiment. And the question that asked that measures customer sentiment is how likely would you recommend Republic Services to your friends or family? So it's just one simple question. But it does, how we look at this is, excuse me, we really watch this closely, because this does tell us, customers give us direct feedback, they have an opportunity to rate us, and in order to get what we see the green promoters, you can, I'll back up, it's a scale of 0 to 10 on them rating us on how good or bad our service is. And for us to get a promoter, you can, customers have to score us 9 to 10. If it's passive, it's the 7 and 8 score, and the detractors, it's quite a wide range of 0 to 6. So there's a lot of opportunity for customers to say, we don't love your service, and then they have an opportunity to give us reasons why. And then we have an opportunity to reach out to those customers and better understand what their service experience is and try to resolve whatever issue that they bring to our attention. So this is what this data speaks to, that is just the sentiment. You can get a score from negative 100 to positive 100. So again, quite a range. And this is what I'm talking about here, these ranges right here. So 37 may not look like it's a good score, but actually a world-class score is 50. So we're in a pretty good range from a customer sentiment perspective. Again, never saying that it's perfect. We know and have identified that there's a lot of improvement that we're still working on to better service the community. But I think the things that we're really focused on is better and consistent service, making sure that we don't roll any routes and we provide service when customers expect us to, like Courtney talked about, we opened up our offices. So there's a lot better direct access to us when customers do have any issues. They can come in and talk to us, which we've seen customers come in and they'll ask us about billing issues, for example, and help them through that. Or if there are any service issues, they tell us about it and then try to fix it as quickly as possible. So this is what that data is really. Any questions relating to?
Okay, all right, this is my favorite part of the job, so it's the community engagement piece. We've done quite a bit of community investments in Prineville and Crook County over the past year. And I'm really looking forward to this year. We're gonna continue that trajectory of investments and participation in events and add more. So things that aren't reflected here that I'm excited about, we're hoping to do a project with the library and their library of things. So I'm working on that piece, trying to figure out the funding for that. We do work with the Crook County Foundation and Crook County on the Move, and did a coloring book project with them that I think is being distributed in the community. So lots of really exciting things. And then I think the thing that we spend the most time and effort on, or at least did last year and are likely to do this year, with the Crooked River Roundup. We did a big recycling project there last year that was behind the scenes, so people that went didn't see, but I was in the back with a team of soccer players from the high school sorting out all of the waste and pulling recyclable items out. So we're gonna modify that partnership a little bit and do it again this year. So really excited about that. RMA update, you guys I think are gonna hear about that more today, so I won't spend other time talking about that. Jackie is all over that. And Eric and I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what RMA is going to mean for Crook County and for Prineville. It's a really exciting time to be involved in recycling work, and by exciting, I also mean painful. So the benefits though to the ratepayer, I think, are gonna be start to be seen here in July, August, or sometime early next year. And a lot of that has to do with commodities market stabilization. We won't, right now, one of the major drivers of our costs are recycling prices. And so RMA is gonna help stabilize that market and hopefully we'll be able to pass that benefit on to the ratepayers. Any questions about any of that? All right.
Okay, now we're gonna do a high level overview of financials. We're coming upon our rate setting season, which you guys will see us again, get in front of you and talk about our financial performance in 2024, as well as going over what our projected cost would be in 2025 and ultimately what our rate ask is gonna be. So this is kind of a prelude to that and talking about this information and getting it in front of you. So we wanted to display and show just historical information. So the first is relating to our contract margin. And you can see Crook County on the bottom line. Historically, Crook County, with regards to our contract, has performed a little better than what we've seen in the city of Prineville. One of the main drivers of that is the cost of recycling. We do more recycling within the city of Prineville, and due to the cost of that system, it's usually pretty impactful, and that's why we see more of a fluctuation in lower margins, operating margins out of the city of Prineville compared to Crook County. But like Courtney said, we've got RMA that will be going into effect July 1st. So that will start to stabilize those costs and ultimately Crook County will see those benefits as well. But more to come with that information because we don't totally know what that's going to look like yet. But once we do, we'll keep everyone informed. We also wanted to show kind of the historical rate asks that we've asked and what has been approved. So that information is presented here. And then CPI is, a price index that indicates cost increases. And we specifically have shown the price index that our industry falls into, which is water, sewer, and trash. And there's a specific index relating to trash and garbage collection. So it just shows, again, the historical movement of cost increase that we've experienced in our industry. And that directly ties into our cost performance and ultimately the contract performance as well. So any questions relating to that information? No. Okay. Next is, again, just a really high level overview of drivers of cost. This is pretty consistent. We've talked about this quite a bit when we come in and talk about our performance, our financial performance and our rate asks. It's usually related to these categories. So one of the biggest cost categories is related to our labor. So this is frontline employees, technicians, supervisors, managers, the frontline employees who are responsible for providing the service. That's where a lot of our cost drivers are from. We really try to make sure that we're maintaining a good wage rate to support any inflationary impacts that we've experienced or any cost of living. We've done a lot of different adjustments for our employees relating to their wage so that we can stay competitive in the market, and we keep disposal is another large cost driver, and we have seen some disposal rate increases from the landfill, and that ultimately is impacted in our financial performance. So I wanted to highlight that as a cost driver. Like we've talked about, recycling very volatile since 2017 when China Sword went into effect. And we've just seen kind of this really instability within that market, especially excuse me, the commingle line of business with recycling. A lot of, especially over the last several years, costs continue to increase to process that material. And again, subsequently, we've seen that dramatically increase in our financial performance. Truck maintenance is another one where it costs quite a bit of money for us to maintain our trucks and keep them on the road so that we're servicing our community. Just, year over year from 23 to 24, 2023 to 24, we've seen parts increase of about 30%. So that's quite significant. So, and we feel like those costs are going to continue to rise. And so again, we'll see more details when we present those financials here in a few months. But wanted to highlight that piece. And then fuel is general. Oh, go ahead.
Did you work in the fact that you moved a bunch of the nicer trucks to Redmond from Prineville when you first took over on the truck maintenance?
So we actually did an analysis with our fleet department to that point, and I can send you some more information about this, but, we didn't actually do that.
Okay.
And we can provide kind of a historical overview of how trucks were moved. We do move trucks between the divisions, but when we purchased, Prineville Disposal, there were a number of vehicles and assets that were not roadworthy. And many of those have been scrapped or will be scrapped at this point because we can't utilize them. And we ended up bringing in trucks from Bend and Redmond, to allow us to continue to service Prineville and Crook County without, having to purchase new assets. So we have a tracker that I can send to you if you want to see which assets we have and how they were moved since acquisition.
Yeah, and on that point, we actually just got an email from our maintenance manager yesterday, and we've got a new ASL truck that is actually slotted for Bend, but we're gonna bring it to Prineville. So, I mean, we do those movements all the time, just depending on where our division needs are, which is kind of one of those nice benefits of being a larger company and we're servicing multiple areas within Central Oregon. We can make those decisions and move new trucks where we see the need, and that's actually what we're doing with Prineville because they have a higher need to get a new residential truck, so that's where we're going to make that move.
And if you're interested in an EV truck, let me know. Just throw it in there.
All right.
Okay, I'm sorry, this is the city of Prineville code, section. We spoke with them a little bit last night. Your code sections, related to the rate setting process are similar or the same as Prineville. I think it's 828-120 of the code. This is generally the process that is utilized by both Crook County and the city of Prineville. There's two, rate setting, options, I guess. The first is if we're gonna ask for CPI water, sewer, trash, there's one process. We have historically asked above water, sewer, trash, so that triggers a different process. But it's outlined in the code and the things that the court and the city should consider when evaluating those requests are spelled out. I'm happy to provide more information about that if anybody has questions about it.
In this slide, since we're talking about financials, again, going into the rate setting process, we wanted to touch on and highlight just the financial transparency and some of the controls that we have in place as for public services. So again, our focus and dedication as a company is to make sure that we are transparent with our financials. We have accountability with the information that's provided. We are legally required to manage our finances in a way that's consistent with state and federal laws, so we comply with those. And because we are a publicly traded company, there are several requirements that we have in place that we have to abide by and share that information. And this details out here. We are a publicly traded company on the SEC. So we have to file those reports in accordance with those laws and regulations. We have strict compliance with Sarbanes and Oxley. So there's strict internal controls and audit requirements that we have and set in place because of that. And then this just highlights any of the financial information We make that public information at any time it can be requested, and we will provide that information. So wanted to make sure that we highlight again the controls that we have in place from a financial transparency perspective. So any questions relating to that?
Again, this is the timeline that we're gonna be utilizing in both the city and the county this year. So on or before April 1st, you're gonna receive our financial report and our rate request. And then that starts the clock and the process for rate setting and your evaluation of that request. And then we're gonna provide customers with required notice. So, any questions about this or what to expect from us in terms of the reports and the pipeline?
Or questions relating to our 2024 performance?
Or questions about trash? We're all sitting trash. All right, thank you. And I would just say, you know, I noticed on here that you guys are gonna be talking with Jackie more about RMA and other projects and the landfill and all the things that she's coordinating. And I just wanted to highlight the fact that she's really doing an incredible job and is a badass. Awesome. So, thank you, Jackie. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thanks.
You guys have any questions?
No, thank you very much for your
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you.
Very good.
We'll go to number 2, solid waste management. Jackie.
Right, so Kevin McCarthy is here. He is performing our solid waste management plan update. So he has flown into town to help present this update. Do you want me to pull up your things as
Yeah.
well? Okay.
Right.
I'm not sure which one you want.
Oh, that just fell down.
We were paid.
I don't know about you, but I can't read the fine print, so you got bigger copy, so I can't either. If you wanna walk over there after, and take a look, so. But good morning, everybody. I'm Kevin McCarthy, GR Miller, with a company that's based in Portland, so I have lived in the Bay Area and traveled up and down the West Coast on projects. I have a long history in the background, both in private and public sector, and it's been a pleasure working with Jackie. She is a superstar. I won't use those words that were just mentioned, but, anyway, it's been a pleasure working with her over the last 9 months. So I was here in March to sort of kick the project off. We've kind of gone through your whole solid waste system, looked at your collection programs, landfill programs, kind of looked at what's going on in Deschutes County and other places maybe, to see if there's any lessons learned from other jurisdictions. And so we're kind of at a place now where we have these draft recommendations we want to share today. So this is very informal. These are drafts. So if you're terrified by any of them or love any of them, speak up. I'm sure you'll be loud about that and let us know if you like something or if you have questions. There was a mention of this Recycling Modernization Act. I think we've given you a fact sheet on it. There's a lot of detail that goes into it, but it's something that's going on around the country. There's, I think, 4 states, soon to be 5, that have these laws that are really very dramatic. I mean, historically, you all manage your solid waste, through contracts with some jurisdictions provide their own collection services. These laws are actually giving people that manufacture products and packaging to help pay for those services. And it's very strange because essentially these laws are creating a separate new organization called a producer responsibility organization that will be funding municipal programs. The details, as Courtney mentioned, the details of that, how the money will flow to cities and counties isn't quite worked out yet. Whether you'll get reimbursed after the fact, whether there's preferences for more rural counties. Jackie's had a lot of conversations. DQ can kind of share those. So the general good news is there will be some new money out there. So some of the improvements that we're talking about at the landfill will have money available to help pay for them. They won't pay for everything. And again, We don't know what the strings are attached yet, basically the details just aren't worked out. So as we go through this, you'll see a couple of mentions of, seeking RMA funding. Both Jackie and Republic have been participating, putting in requests. The state sort of asked, what's your wish list? What things do you want to improve? Everybody's been doing that throughout the state. So the state, through this new law, is sort of getting feedback about the type of improvements that folks want to make around recycling. That's really the purpose of the law. It's not about landfill management. It's really about funding new recycling collection programs, recycling depots, new facilities to process recyclables or help upgrade them. So it's sort of all in that vein. So don't want to act like I'm not answering your question. If you start getting into the RMA stuff, we just don't know all the details of that. So Jackie and I are gonna go through these together. I'm gonna let her take the first couple.
So this RMA program is really a joint effort between Republic Services and the Crook County landfill. We're gonna really have to work together in order to successfully achieve this. I kind of briefly touched yesterday that we are hoping to utilize Republic's baler that's local, so we don't have that cost of trucking. And also Republic is gonna take on the majority of these requirements. Additional curbside recycling, commercial recycling, so they're gonna see the brunt of this. We're just basically expanding our recycling depot at the landfill. So with that, I know we briefly touched in the past about updating their franchise agreement, which still needs to be done. But we're also gonna have to address within that agreement these new requirements for the RMA. So that will be important to get that implemented in the franchise agreement when we get that done, to hold them responsible for what they need to accomplish on the RMA side of things. Again, funding, they only fund to one party. It's usually the municipal party. So as of now, from my understanding is the county will receive the funds for reimbursement, and then the county will need to reimburse Republic Services and, also give the portion to the landfill given to us as well. But Republic will have to provide some kind of breakdown as to what they paid for and what they need reimbursed for. When we do reimbursements, those products or services have to be used only for RMA projects. So that will be a tricky thing to make sure, if they're requesting reimbursement for additional bins or equipment or trucks, those have to be used for RMA projects only. So that's how you get reimbursed. So they'll have to prove that somehow when they come for reimbursement, just so you guys have a heads up on that.
Head shaking going on.
Yeah, I was shaking my head because I do not necessarily care for that particular wrinkle in the law, and I'm shaking my head just thinking about the implications. So yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just my mind follows.
Just another technicality in the world. Eric. And you said before that you're gonna have another employee that's just dedicated to that.
Yeah, so when this was like 2022, when they decided they were gonna be a part of this and begin going down this road. Over the last year or two, we've done some initial needs assessments for circular action lines, I might
Yeah,
have drawn the blank.
Close enough.
The CAA, they're the company that's doing this program. So we went through an initial round, like we did our own, Republic did their own. This is what we're gonna need. Whether it was equipment, bins, employees, and then they went for round two, they needed to have a bigger picture of what we needed. So we sat down with Republic and then 2 DEQ reps that are our materials recovery specialists. And we sat down and went through that needs assessment together. You can ask for things like security, lighting, infrastructure, labor. So that being said, initially, reimbursement was hoping to be seen up front. Now it's gonna be on the back end, and we're being told 2027. So obviously we'll have to pay for these upfront costs. gonna have to see that on the tipping side of landfill fees in order to get this covered initially, so our rate increase might look a little scary this year, and that's unfortunate, but hopefully we'll see some reimbursement when it comes time for that.
Now, do you mean the rate increase that we're gonna request from people dumping, or the amount that we're gonna be requested from the public?
What I'm gonna have to have customers pay at the scales, so what I will request of the county for rate
Got it.
increases for tonnage.
Yes.
We'll have to stick with the law.
Do you want me, I could just stand up there and hold it.
Or just
Leave one in the
tape
middle.
it to the bulletin board that
The
you
one in
have
the middle.
as the far end, yeah, right there. That'll work. There we go.
James on my tape. And also speaking to that, you know, as Republic Services, they touched on the RMA as well. They'll have to increase their initial costs as well, so when they come and ask for a rate increase, it will probably look a little scary what they're gonna ask for also, but they have to. Like I said, they're doing the majority of this RMA, so they're gonna have a lot more initial upfront costs, so. We'll have to add trucks and recycling routes, and the commercial side of things will be a little bit more robust. I think they offer cardboard now. They're gonna have to offer a lot more services on the commercial side. And then what we're also gonna look. That up there, is our idea for the expansion of our recycling depot. We'll touch on that later, right?
Yeah.
Right, so in all these recommendations, there's actually two capital projects. One of them is to build out a new recycling depot. Sorry for folks around the corner, there are copies of this available. Let's start down here, so this is the direction, this is the facility entrance. Okay, so your existing recycling drop off of those covered bins is on the left side. Over here, this building before the scales, there's an electronic drop off batteries. When you go past the scales, there's appliances, tires, burn barrel, all these things over here. So, the plan is these two improvements to improve the public transfer area and expand this recycling depots, everything gets put in one place. So as a customer, you're not gonna stop here, here, you know, you got yard debris, you have all these different places you go. So the idea is to do this all in one place. So this drawing, which you have a copy of, essentially has separate areas for recycling, HW, for your bulky items. So this is the expensive piece of the whole project, because this is a raised area where customers can drive up a ramp and then they can dump their appliance over a rail into the bin, or dump tires. Right now, the county staff have to spend a lot of time going to the ground level, picking things up and reloading it. So there's certainly safety improvements here. There's customer, convenience improvements. So the idea is to do this all in here. So we don't really know the exact amount of this that would be covered through the RMA, but certainly a good chunk of it would be covered. So that's the recycling depot project. So any questions about that?
What do you, how much of the area right now where you dump your garbage in the bins will that take? Or is that?
It won't take any of the existing area by the transfer bins. You're talking about right next to the scale
Big
house?
green bins?
No, we're actually gonna expand that. So, cause right now we have 4 bins on a
Yeah.
busy summer day or Saturday. We'll have customers waiting at the end of the ramp
Mhm.
because it's only a one-way in and out.
Yeah.
This will alleviate that. It will put an additional 4 bins on the backside. It will
Okay.
actually expand it to the west.
Yeah.
So we can add more bins and the traffic flow will be,
So it's
Much
just
better.
one in, one out, or
yeah. you'll-
Yeah, it'll be
there's like a loop.
Yeah.
Well, so this is the public transfer piece that she's talking about, that everybody's aware of. You go through the scale and you come up the
Yeah.
ramp, which is meant to be two-way, but it really isn't. So you can only get one car up and down at a time. So what happens on the weekend with those trailers, you get backups that impact the traffic here. So the idea was to double the size of it, but you, as a customer, you'll go through the scale, come to this first sort of intersection where the yard debris is, make a left, you'll come up You can tip on either side, then you go back down the existing ramp. So it'll be, the traffic flow will be a lot easier, there won't be backups, and then you'll have twice the capacity for dropping off your waste. And then this is all built, so this top part is the same elevation as all of this, so eventually, 20-25 years from now, you have a very big area you can use.
So would you come in from the top and then go
Yes.
through, continue down, but you won't go past the red area?
No, go back in here or back in
Or how do
there.
you get to the places below to dump your batteries and all those stuff?
It's a separate entrance down here before the stairs. Yeah.
Part of the RMA requires a waste reduction, contamination reduction for your recycling. So this program is all commingled, so you're gonna throw it all in the same bin, and these, products will now include like pots and pans and plastic buckets and wrapping paper, and you can't send a contaminated load of recycling to the end result, so consolidating the area where all our recycling goes helps staff. Like you said, we won't have to reload, but it will also allow us to have our recycling technicians in one spot where they can also keep an eye on all of the recycling. We're making sure that everything that is a charge item is getting charged. Right now, people hide stuff in their loads and then they go down and then dump it wherever they want, and they're not getting charged for it. If it's all in that centrally located area with a technician right there that's able to charge them, then we'll be receiving more of those funds by catching all of those. The contamination will be a lot lower, so that's for the idea of a centralized recycling. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Deschutes County Knox landfill, but they have a recycling center that's available outside of their normal tipping floor. So that's kind of the same idea that this is going for.
Yeah, I would say it's sort of modeled after what's handled there, but, this operation is still planned largely beyond, gravel or pack. We're not putting, lights or anything in there, we're not expecting it to operate at night, so there's things that can be done to phase it into, so to keep the cost down.
Really interesting, thank you.
What are white goods? The paper?
Appliances of all.
Oh, okay, that's what a
Yeah.
white good is? Okay.
Yeah. You'll hear white goods, brown goods, but it's, freezers and refrigerators and.
I've never heard of that term.
So those are the two capital projects. Deschutes County, because it's bigger and has more funding through their landfill fund, they're gonna be seeking bigger dollars to actually build facilities to process recycling. So there may be, if those projects get funded, there's gonna be, right now, Republic, when they handle the recyclables, they have a transfer operation in Bend, they have a baler there. But they ship materials to the other side of the mountains, so it's a very long haul, very expensive. So if Deschutes County goes forward with building their own facility, those costs should get cheaper. Which would be a benefit for the county. We go to the, let's see, the next page, page 2. Most of these are really specific to the improvements we talked about, household hazardous waste. You have a good program now. This operation just will provide, better, safer, more convenient space. And so, if you were to approve this capital project, you go into the design of it, then essentially at that point, you'd be able to figure out how much of this would be paid for through what types of services, how much would come from the RMA. You mentioned item 5, that's the public transfer area, doubling that. We estimated that cost at 1.24 million. Again, this is not based on any design, just sort of a rough estimate of the cost. The next one, I'll let Jackie speak mainly to this, but there's been some conversations with your longtime landfill engineer, Jerry Friesen, about improvements to the gas collection system. It's not something that's required now, but this is getting into down the road, releasing an RFP to see what interest there might be out there for. There's companies that come in and will essentially put in a gas collection system, they'll monetize it, and if there's royalties generated, they share that with the customer, so it's more an aspirational thing a few years down the road, maybe Jack can share a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so I spoke yesterday during the presentation, this has to do with our surface emissions monitoring for methane gas, which right now we've successfully tested out of, so we don't have to do anything right now. But, Jerry Freeston is the engineer that he's speaking of, and he did prepare an RFP. As Kevin mentioned, he also did Deschutes counties, correct?
Yeah.
For their gas system. So we have it, we're ready to use it. We talked about being proactive and just putting in the gas system, just to bite the bullet and not have to fight the testing. However, I had a meeting with our environmental engineer, PBS. That is not a good option. We don't want to jump sooner than we need to. It throws us into Title V, which the O&M costs are extremely high, so he said to hold off as long as possible, but we do have this in place for when we're ready, and then we can look and see who's interested, like Kevin stated.
Then the last item is a financial item. It's pretty typical for landfill funds to have a capital reserve policy where you essentially have a equipment replacement schedule, and you as you adjust tipping fees, you take money out of that, and you set it aside for capital projects as opposed to sort of just doing these one off each year. So there's a recommendation here to sort of adopt a formal reserve policy. Again, I know there's been some initial conversations about that.
Yeah, we used to have reserve funds available for separate items. We had a liner reserve fund, which we could put money in every year. So when we got time to build our new cell, those funds were available. Same with equipment replacement. And then we had our post-closure fund. Those went away. And so all of those projects I have to place into my budget every year. So in my budget, every year I move forward the cost for the methane gas RFP or things like that. I just move it forward. So it takes away from other things I need to budget for equipment replacement. Whereas if we had these reserve funds available and I could build over time, it would help with my budget in the long run. But I think this is industry standard to have reserve funds set up like this. So it's nice to get back to that. And I kind of touched base with Will and Christina on that just a little bit yesterday, and Christina's aware of those funds, so we're hoping to get back to that.
That's it. Any questions, or you've heard enough about trash and want to go on to the next subjects? But we'll come back to you if you have certainly any questions that you go through this and something pops up, let Jackie know. And the next step is once we have if we have if you have a sense of something you really don't like, or there's something you really do want to see as a recommendation, please let Jackie know, and we'll come forward to the final draft plan in probably the next 60 days. Move forward.
I know you don't have a crystal ball, but, do you have like a feeling of what percentage the RMA will pay for? Or?
We were told initially that everything would be 100% fully funded that we needed for this program. Whether that happens,
Yeah.
like I said, we were told we'd get paid up front. Now it's,
Yeah.
and we were also told, counties that need more help will get it first. So if you have like Burns, who barely has a recycling center at all, they'll receive funds before we will, and then we'll receive before Portland will, because they're just gonna go in order from who needs it most.
And the way we did the design is that so right now what you have is those bins out there, and you have some oil collection stuff. If you just sort of kept that area, but improved it, added some, covers over the bins, and maybe added more to meet the state RMA requirements, you could do that first. And then you could add on the HHWPs, and you could add on the bulky item. So it's kind of modular. You don't have to sort of bite the bullet and then wait for the state to, okay, we're gonna pay 30%, 50, you won't really be in that situation. So
Really interesting, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Some of these things need to be kind of updated as it is, so.
Yeah.
So it's benefit to the county to do with some of that anyway.
Yeah.
Whether we get into the other program is a different thing.
Then we'll have room for carpet and clothing and
Yeah.
shoes. No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good presentation.
Sarah, request for authorization to apply for multiple grants and level 2 EV charges maybe here.
Pacific Power conducted a engineering report for us to install the level 2 dual port EV charging station. Those two parking spaces would be if you're driving in to the left of the handicap spaces. And their cost estimate was pretty high. It was $43,177. We actually would like to go with ChargePoint, which is the same company that installed the ones at the fairgrounds and the Justice Center. And after talking with Cooper Electric, they said, well, here, this will save you a lot of money. And they want to go from our electrical room underneath the building and around and out right next to the parking lot. And so that will dramatically reduce the cost estimate. One price that isn't on here is the price for signs, cement, the chain link fence posts, and the caps on top, and that is $181.47. So we would like to ask today for your permission to go after some of these grants. There's a lot of them out there, and we feel like by applying for these grants, we can get this project fully funded.
So I have a question. Do we have the electrical, I mean, I don't know anything about these. Do we have the electrical capacity? Because you have a $43,000 and then you have 13 plus 11. That's kind of a drastic money thing. So
It is, and what they said was this will not be one of the super fast charging systems. It will
it'll
be,
slower.
and that we do have the capacity for that with that green box, the electrical box that's out near the parking lot.
And then what is the cost for us, like monthly, what to have, is that like what is our cost as a utility, I guess?
There will be an increased utility cost. I don't know what that's gonna be. We can see what's happened with the fairgrounds and the Justice Center.
You know,
I'm
where?
not sure.
Well, it's billed, it'll be on a credit card, it's billed to whoever the user is. And
Oh,
we
so,
have-
okay.
We have the opportunity to set our price.
Mhm.
So if we pay 10 cents from the power company, we can set a minimum or
Oh, okay, so really
to
it's a,
cover our costs.
okay, so it's an even thing,
It
okay,
is.
I've never done this, so I can say I'm ignorant. Okay.
And they have already got that in process and set up the rates, and so that's why you feel like going with the charge point option is a good one. I mean, why do something completely different?
Okay.
So there are a lot of grants out there, and we would respectfully ask for permission to go ahead and apply for those.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that's a tremendous difference, I tell you.
I know.
So, no hurry, we can put this on the next court meeting. Or next meeting.
For final approval of consent.
So Sarah, this is just requesting the blessing to submit the applications.
Mhm.
Okay, so I don't know if we necessarily need to postpone it for the next meeting. Sarah can submit applications. If it's approved, we'll get some document back from there. That would probably go on a regular meeting. I think the general consensus today is adequate for at least what Sarah needs to do.
So do we need a motion?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 4.
Up again.
I think, Sarah, it's your turn again.
We would like to ask for October 13th, 2025, which is Columbus Day, to be closed that day for staff training. Seems to be a good day to be closed for staff training. There's a lot of places that are already closed. And we have keynote speakers, we have intense work sessions on our workflow system called Sierra. It's just a really good day for all of us to spend together and to learn new skills.
Sounds fine to me. Do we need a motion for that, Eric?
I don't think so, unless there's some dissonant.
It's fine with me.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Neil, OHA 2023-25 intergovernmental agreement amendment 14. There you are. Good morning.
Yes, amendment 14, kind of just settling the contracts for the last fiscal year. We have some additional funding. We received about $65,000 for our alcohol and drug prevention program. We received another award of $121,000, for public health infrastructure funding. You might notice that there's like a deficit in funding if you go to amendment, I think it's not amendment, but, attachment C and A, you'll see that there's some discrepancies in the amount of funding that's, indicated in this specific amendment. But, amendment 15 has already come out and that's rollover funding. So amendment 15 shows that we have that funding currently. So, this is just more of a formality so that amendment 15 can go into place.
So even though like when you look at alcohol and drug, it says the previous award was 112, increase, decrease is 28, and then it goes to current is 84. Don't really look at that. You're still getting that money.
Yes.
It's kind of weird the way, I looked at that and I thought, this is kind of weird the way that's written.
Absolutely, yeah, and I'm sure Eric can attest to that. We had quite a few conversations about this.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense the way it's, numerically written out.
If I ever become king of the world, one of the things on my agenda is to update how OHA writes their contracts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because when I read this, I kept thinking, am I reading this right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, there is, amendment 15 only shows like a 10,000 subtraction,
Okay.
for all the funding.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I kept thinking, like I say, I was reading this wrong. So I feel that we should just move this on to the consent agenda. Is that soon enough for you, Camille?
That should be soon enough.
For next week, for the 22nd.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
I agree.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Makes
gobbledygook thing, the way it's written. Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Thank you. Stephanie Wilson. Oh, well, you about got your head on that thing.
Yeah.
You about got your head on there.
Oh. Yeah, Jared and I are not friends. I can answer any questions that you have on this one. This is just a renewal of the emergency management grant through the state of Oregon. Funding is similar to prior years. Of course, this one is one where we get a very small portion of funding and the sheriff's office covers the rest of it. That is going to be kind of a discussion. As this funding is decreasing, how we want to continue to fund that emergency management program. But this is just a request to approve that grant for the next fiscal year.
So since you said this is a discussion and it's a 50-50, do we have funds to do the 50-50?
We do budget, and this one is dramatically more than 50-50. The county puts in significantly more than our 50% to make sure that we have what we need in the emergency management program. So, that's why it's gonna be a topic of discussion, how we want to continue on that in the future.
So how do you suggest that we move forward on this?
There's a couple of different options. Deschutes County currently has their emergency management program as an internal service fee, so it's not in the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office right now is responsible for any deficit in the funding for that. So potentially looking at it as an internal service fee. We have a few options. That's really the one that I know about, that other counties are considering. But obviously open to options and thoughts on that and how we want to manage that. I know it's important to the county to make sure we have those services. The other aspect of it is OEM, which is Office of Emergency Management, is changing the way these funds are potentially going to be allocated. I've been in a couple of those meetings. Depending on what they decide to do is probably gonna inform what we decide to do on our end. If they go to more of a performance-based payment, it's going to be a tremendous struggle for the smaller rural counties that have one emergency manager and then they have their SAR team that's all volunteers. that would require a couple of boxes to be checked, you know, you had to do certain things during the year, and if you weren't able to do that, you wouldn't get that funding. I wanna say Grant County was on the meeting I was in most recently, and with the suggested requirements, there's no way they would get any funding because they can't do what those requirements would be, because there's one person there and they're busy managing wildfires, dealing with search and rescue. So we're kind of in a holding pattern on that end to see what the funding is actually gonna look like in the future. There were some public meeting and comment sessions that happened earlier this year, and I just haven't heard the results of that yet, and haven't presented them. They reopened them because of the concerns with that performance-based option.
So are we better to table this at this time until we have more information, or what is the
So this
suggestion?
grant secures our funding for this year, so.
So we need
We
to
need to
move
make sure we do
forward,
this.
we need to move forward with this, okay, okay. So it's your suggestion to go ahead and put this on the consent agenda?
I think we're okay for the 22nd. Yeah, we just have to have it back to them by the 31st.
Okay,
Okay, I'm good with moving forward.
Okay.
We're coming up legally, get the grants.
Yeah, we have, this funding is secured for us with this.
okay, that's all I need to know, and perfect, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sure ERC's doing something with it, so.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a concern for all of the counties across
Okay,
Oregon.
I just didn't know, like, did we wait, you know?
Yeah, no, great question.
Perfect, okay.
Okay, next one. Andrew, discussion of replacement of jail ambulance.
So we've discussed a couple times about, jail cameras in the jail are gonna go end of life, service life. Starting a year from now, so January 2026. James has done a lot of legwork and he's acquired 3 different bids. We got Anwa, I'm not sure if you pronounced that right, Viglion and Bosch. We recommend selecting the Hanwha. One of the big perks is it is about $100,000 cheaper than the other options. The other perk to it that I really like about it is it's the least intrusive as far as the buildup. It doesn't involve going in and completely replacing every wiring system. It can incorporate some of the existing hardware, some of the existing camera systems. It makes it for a smoother transition. We're not relearning where cameras are located. The system is, you know, the jail's only been open 5 years. It's not a 25-year-old system that we've been slapping updates on that needs reworking. It's a new system. It works just fine. We have no complaints about it. We need something that provides that service life so that if something goes down, we get those repairs in place. The reason we kind of need to hit the hammer now is, as has been mentioned, it's James in this communication with them, it's about a 9 to 10 month from beginning of contract to end of build. It just is there's just a lot of slow moving work. And so, to get this system up and running prior to us going end of life, we need to get that moving like now.
I kind of looked at the warranty, you know, thinking in the 300,000, give you more, it's all the same warranty
It
on
is,
all of it
yes.
with the prices and everything.
To be frank, the Bosch one was acquired just to get that 3rd bid, so it's cleaner. That was kind of John's recommendation with that. But yes, they're all very similar as far as service. It's just the Hanwha is cheaper because it incorporates a lot of the existing equipment.
And what, you said that you got one grant, how much was the grant?
That was only for 5,000. So it's not much. It's a reimbursement grant through CIS. I am looking for additional funding resources. They pop up every once in a while. They're specific to technology and that ties pretty tightly into it. So it's just about when I find the right one, striking when the iron's hot and getting that on board.
So this is not in your budget at all, this would.
No,
be
this really
extra
came out of
cost.
absolutely nowhere on us.
Okay.
They gave us essentially a document that said, hey, guess
You're
what,
done.
here's what's happening.
So this need to be approved today or can it go through in a consent agenda?
No, my understanding, John, was we just discussed it with you guys today. If you have any questions or issues, and then they can go to consent next week.
Okay. And then Accurate Controls is it's just a software and Accurate Controls, they're handling it, going to their.
I believe so, yes.
I We needed.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Forward.
nothing, there's nothing we can do, so yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate you using the low one.
Yeah.
Appreciate the low one. I prefer doing everything I needed to do.
I kept looking for what the benefit was for the 301 one, and I kept thinking there must be something.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
And it
nothing.
really isn't, yeah.
No, thank you very much for your research.
Slide back up. It's IT GIS staff update.
Yes.
Stephen.
Yes, thanks for the time today. I mentioned this, I think, in the budget
Yes,
update
you
earlier
did.
this week. So we, it kind of ties into the staff changes, in the GIS team overall. So, Levi gave notice my first day here, like within a few minutes. And then literally,
Now, that doesn't sound very good when you put it that way.
I know, right? He hated me that much. So Jack was sort of, Levi was here, gave 30 days notice, and then Jack was here sort of running that team, and then he learned a lot of skills in the process. And so we moved Jack from an analyst to a senior analyst. And in that process, we wanted to make sure that we still had 2 people in GIS. It's easily a 2-person department right now. It could expand more. In the overall roadmap, no, sorry, can we put the slide back up or you guys have it? I put it in there. Okay, so the org chart from the roadmap had what was called an applications manager. That was a split role between IT and GIS. The idea being 50% of the salary goes up, covered by IT, the other half covered by GIS. We briefly, after Levi left, looked at hiring that role. You can't really find anybody to do that type of work. It's not a skill set that's in the marketplace. You either have someone who manages GIS and that's what they do, or you have someone who is an IT focused applications manager, and they really don't know the detail of what GIS entails, the mapping and all that detailed knowledge that you need. So, when we moved Jack from analyst to senior analyst, we created a new role called a GIS technician. That's an entry level role meant for a recent college graduate to come in, learn the skills, grow with the county is the main idea there. And, that went through compensation committee, was approved. It's on the salary schedule, all good there. And so basically what you have is instead of 4.5 people in IT, you have 4, and instead of 1.5 in GIS, you have 2. So it's 4-2, it's cleaner cut. The GIS technician would report up to Ben Clark, who is our new hire in the GIS team. And so, we'll mention that this is an update that needs to come before the team here. And so,
So, yeah, this is similar to some of the prior conversations we've had, like with the road department when there was kind of a shift in the positions. We just want to make sure, because we do publish our org charts as part of the budget process. We just want to make sure the board and the public's aware of the changes that we're making within the department when something like this comes along, so.
and it's still 6 FTE total.
For IT and 2 GIS.
Correct. And we actually, went out to market for the GIS technician because we're looking to hire soon, had a really good turnout, so we're hoping to get this approved, and then we're gonna be on the phone this week on some candidates.
Good. So this needs to go on a consent agenda. This has to be approved by us.
I think in the past, we just had a conversation at work session just to
Okay.
inform you, and we'll formalize it through the updated org chart and the budget this year. All of that, but we just want to make sure you guys are aware. If you have concerns, it's an opportunity to have that
Okay.
conversation.
Looks good. Well, you need a picture of Ben in here.
I do, I put the Lego guy in there because I don't have
Yeah.
a picture yet. You'll see, a picture of Blaine who starts on, the 3rd of this month in our IT ops manager.
No, sounds great to me.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you very
GIS is
much.
Very much needed.
Yes, very much.
There's a lot of work for a lot of people in the community.
Yeah, and we've structured it in a way that these team members have a long-term goal. Roadmap for them to stay with the county.
That's great too.
And yeah, just, I think Stephen agrees. Ben's been doing a great job filling in that role on GIS. It's a big ask because we don't have any in-house knowledge that could be kind of directly passed down to him over the course of a year or two. So he's having to get up to speed on a lot of, kind of past practices and all of that. And he's doing a great job.
There's a lot of, Levi was here, I think, 12 years. So, yeah, You know, someone who's been here that long has a lot of, detailed information that's, even though he documented a lot of things, it's like, no, you don't really know until you dig in there. And then Ben has a training coming up next month with Esri, which is our main software platform for the GIS.
Well, we got on about right in the middle of the maps, and maps and everything else that he had going, so.
Yeah.
Kudos for him for. Yeah. Appreciate it.
So we're good?
Good.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate the time. Sarah, thank you, as always.
Kelly, you're next with the core grant.
I'm up.
Yep.
So the first thing on this agenda request, under the subject, I have airport core grant, which is the state grant for the Department of Aviation agreement signature request. So this is the request, it should have been approval and signature request. So we've talked about this before. It's the T hangar project, the storage building project. And this is a state funded grant that'll cover $250,000. So we applied for that back in September. And so this is the actual agreement itself. So looking for, I just want to, I guess, discuss it, and it can go on, my request would be to go on to consent agenda the next regular session.
Where did the 1,400 come to, that you subtracted? On here, on your agenda request, there's a minus 1,400, or am I reading?
Oh, no, that was just a dash. That's the total of the project.
Oh, okay, because I thought it was anyway, I just wondered, where's that 14? I was looking, okay. Totally misread it, okay,
So that's project total. So it just kind of gives the approximate funding.
okay,
So FAA is covering 725,
Okay.
all in, state 250, local, I mean, they're 425. Whole project is
maybe
1.4.
I'm on the wrong one.
That's all.
No, I'm on the right one, okay. Okay,
So like I say, we've talked about this before, a couple different times, so it's the state portion, so the agreement will be in front of you for next week.
Sounds good. I don't have any questions. Like you said, we've talked about it quite a bit. So.
now, do we want to make a motion so you can sign it today? Or because we have talked about it, or we wait till next week?
Whatever's,
It sounds like it's not a 911, so it's
Okay.
on the regular agenda. This is one of them, that's not 911.
finally, well, the next one is.
Well, that's
Should've led with that one.
That's the feds, so
Yeah.
we understand that.
Okay,
Okay. We'll put it on the consent, go to the next one, sir.
Okay, so the next one is the FAA grant. So this is the actual application for the FAA grant. So I don't believe this needs to go to the regular session. So my request is that the application is set up for Commissioner Barney's signature. So I guess my request is to have Commissioner Barney sign the application. I'll get that submitted, and then hopefully I'll be back on February 5th with the FAA grant agreement. And then that'll close the door on all, most of these little items that put the project together, and we can actually award the project and move forward. Just another thing to mention, my plan is to submit the agreement for FAA for this grant on the 5th, to sign on the 5th and do the award for the contractor on the 5th. That's pretty important that we get that done, because that is the 90 days that we have, is actually the 5th is the last day to respond to the award to the contractor. So everything's kind of coming down to a point, and so we can close the door on that for the 5th. So if I can request your signature today, or sometime by the end of the day, and I can get it over to FAA, by tomorrow would be great if that's possible.
Make a motion for Brian to sign the FAA grant application outside of the meeting.
I second that motion.
Motion's been made and second to authorize Commissioner Barney to sign the paper. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
do we have it here right now?
Digital,
I can print, or, okay.
thank you, the FAA ones, it's all confusing.
Yeah, it's only like
11
180.
is-
Oh,
Yeah, right, it's the whole.
yeah.
Kind of a pain.
Yeah, okay, we'll do that.
So 11 is not gonna be presented, community development monthly update. Now we go to, well, I guess, huh?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
So I think we're up to, number 12. I think both Randy and, I saw Randy on there earlier, Katrina's on there. I just want to thank him again for being flexible regarding their community development update. So, number 12 is ratification of community development director appointment. The county, elected to start its recruitment process by doing an internal recruitment. We ended up receiving an application from an excellent applicant, Mr. John Eisler. And so the county has offered John the position, and I am here today to ask for ratification of that position because it is a department head position. So I'm asking the board for that ratification. John brings with him, I think over 5 years of experience here at the county. He's helped community development on a number of projects over those 5 years. He's involved in some ongoing long-range planning projects, and he's worked with a lot of the staff in community development and on various projects over the years. So I think he makes an excellent fit, and I'm looking forward to working with him in that new role. So we'll need to have some conversations going forward in terms of the transition for county council's office. But we've started those with Eric, and we'll continue those with the board here shortly. So again, I'm just here to ask for the board's ratification of that appointment.
Well, I am very happy to ratify the appointment of John Eisler as community development director.
Yeah, look forward to it.
I think you couldn't have found a better person.
Oh.
Congratulations. I know that you will continue your excellence there as you have in the law portion.
Appreciate it, guys, and honored you guys selecting me for this. I know you mentioned I've been here for 5 years, it was just announced last week, and so it feels like it was like a 5-year job interview, which makes me feel kind of more honest, I guess, and impactful to me. Gonna miss hanging out with you guys every Wednesday morning, but we're looking forward to moving forward and getting that team and trying to move that part of the department forward, so.
Well, every Wednesday morning, you're still gonna have to be here for a report with Katrina.
Not every Wednesday, not,
You've got plenty to keep you busy
Yeah,
here
I'll be
in
plenty
front of the
busy.
board.
you guys see me plenty, but.
Don't worry, we'll be chatting with you.
We know where your office is.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
for now, it's gonna move, so.
no
You
worries.
know where that
Going
is
to
too.
be.
It's closer. It is closer.
Yeah,
Risk
you
our
are in
lives
trouble.
crossing the road.
We don't have to cross the street now. You're gonna get in trouble now. So there you go.
Looking forward to it.
So we don't need a motion or anything on this, or?
Yeah, I think it would make sense to have a motion. I have to say, this is a little bittersweet for Alex and me. We will sorely miss John, but he will be transitioning into a new position. We're excited for him. So I might suggest a motion of the Board of Commissioners to ratify the appointment of John Eisler as the new Community Development Director.
So moved.
Most been made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Since they were so nice, I just want to say, I'm very grateful to Alex. I miss her a lot. She did a great job of making me feel like I knew what I was doing to our partners and our counterparties. I want to thank Eric for everything he's done. He's been a great example of ethical, hardworking department head. It's been a great boss. Couldn't be more grateful. I miss that a lot, so.
Just make it sound like he's leaving the county.
And don't think I'm not calling you a septic problem. No questions. Don't
staying on my
get that, yeah, don't
Let's
get
stay on
off
my
that page, okay?
90 days,
Reading a lot
90
more.
days.
So, yeah, keep that book open.
Oh, congratulations, John. Looking forward to getting to work with you.
Thank you.
Okay, next,
Christina.
yes, Tina.
I think, I might have a question for Christina, but I'll cover this unless. you wanna-
I
wanna
just put it
jump?
on the agenda.
Okay.
So it looks like during the short session, the legislature updated, I don't know, an ORS that deals with, enrollment of certain employees into PERS. And, previously it allowed for the enrollment of deputy DAs, but they amended through House Bill 4045, they added district attorneys themselves. I think part of the policy consideration was that there was concern that experienced deputy DAs wouldn't want to take on the role of district attorney if they weren't kind of assured that they would likewise have the benefit of PERS. My understanding is this request would cost the county approximately $7,200 in terms of the difference between the 401k contribution and the PERS contribution for the district attorney position. So there is some additional costs, but it's at that 7,200 in that range of $7,200. So the ask here today, or the request is really to have a conversation about the county's desire to move forward with that. I believe this is something that can go on the consent agenda next week if there's agreement that the county should enroll the district attorney into PERS for its portion of her compensation, that stipend that the county pays in addition to what the state pays. So. Any questions?
Makes sense to me.
Only fair if the deputy DAs have it.
Yeah.
The DA has it.
Yeah.
The one that's not in favor of it to begin with. That's fair.
Okay.
Christina, it's okay to put that on consent agenda. Will that mess up payroll or anything?
No, you just need to know by January 31st, that my house, and then unless Eric has some reason for the document, can't go on.
I can't think of any reason that it couldn't, and just for the sake of having it on the record, the district attorney's, substantial portion of the district attorney's position is already paid for by the state. For county, like a lot of other counties supplements that, that's what we call the stipend. And it is, this action is only for the portion that the county pays. Currently, a percentage of that is funded into a 401k for retirement. And this is going to, if it's approved, take that portion and fund a PERS retirement account going forward.
So it wouldn't be both, it would be one or the other.
So, right, it would not be that the county also pays into 401k and PERS. It would be either 401k as present or going forward for that portion of the stipend into PERS. And if we can ever convince the state to increase the compensation for district attorneys statewide, I think that would be swell.
Well, I mean, they need to be paying for the entire office since it is a state office, but I've
Yes.
ranted about that for quite a while.
Yes, baby steps.
They also need to be paying rent.
Yeah.
There's the Justice Center,
I
I'm sorry
agree.
to say,
I agree.
but we're not
Yeah.
doing that either.
No, well, I would settle with paying their wages.
I would settle with 2 floors at the Justice
You
Center.
think that's more than the rent, I think that's more than the payroll?
Well, I think I'd ask for both.
I mean, I'm all for both, don't get me wrong, but.
Well, we're probably not gonna get either, so let's move on.
Yeah.
With the manager's report.
Thank you, Brian. I just couple of quick notes. So with a little less fanfare than has happened in the past, ODF rolled out their final wildfire risk maps last week. This was referenced in the community wildfire plan protection plan meeting last week. I hadn't heard of that rollout until then. But the county also received notice for one of its properties that's within the WUI in the high risk area. And it outlined the appeal options, and I'm sure we're we as a community are gonna have a lot of property owners who receive similar notices. I have not had a chance to sit down and look at what that final fire map looks like for Crook County, other than very briefly, I pulled it up on my screen, and it looked like some of the spotty spots have been maybe improved, but that was a very quick review, so I think it's something that maybe GIS and community development can team up on and update the whole board here in the next couple of weeks in terms of what is out there. Importantly, if you get questions from the public, they have a 60-day period to appeal from the date the notice was sent. They have to read that language very carefully because it's a date the notice was sent or some other date, whichever was sooner or earlier. But they do have appeal rights, but it's an informal administrative appeal process. But if you get questions about that, I'm happy to help try to answer any questions the public has about those appeal rights or the fire maps.
I want to ask you a question. So my daughter asked this, she lives in Bend, but this could apply to someone here. She was saying that she got the letter, she's in the high wildfire, and they were asking for a mitigation. So she wanted to cut 6 of the pine trees that are actually outside her 30-foot, but wanted to cut those down. Is that part of the appeal process, that she appeals and says she will cut those down surrounding? How does that work that you can mitigate? I had never heard that before.
I haven't heard that either, and I don't recall seeing that in the letter that was sent to the
That's not some of the
county.
conversations we have.
We haven't heard anything about mitigation, and that's kind of counter actually to what we did talk about with some of the folks from ODF and their consultants, because once the maps are final and the appeal processes are done, they're not looking to update any of these maps for another 5 to 6 years, so you're kind of stuck with what's on the ground.
Well, that's what I thought too, and then she called this morning and said she had this and that they could do mitigation, and it's on that Arnold Market Road. And then down the way, her doctor friend, they got a same letter about mitigation. So they were gonna get tree services in and mitigate, and I had never heard that. I'll have to get a copy of
Yeah.
the letter and show, because I thought, well, are there people here that have the possibility of mitigation?
That's a new concept in terms of this conversation. I have not heard discussion of mitigation or how that may improve your fire rating or address wildland urban interface issues. I'm assuming some of that, my best guess, just hearing it right now, is that there's a link to defensible space somewhere with that. But I'd be curious to see that letter.
Yeah, I'll get her to give me a copy.
And I think that's all I have. I know we've got a busy day, so.
Did you want to do that?
Oh, yes, thank you. As I forwarded you an email from COIC regarding the appointment to, it looks like they are looking for 3 appointments, 1 to the board, 1 to, let me pull it up so I'm not running off memory, but.
COIC and COAC, isn't it?
And then regional housing.
And then regional housing. So there's 3 positions there. I know Commissioner Hermrich, you've done a lot of the work with COIC. I don't know what your bandwidth is to either continue some of these.
Well, whoever's on COIC should do COACT or whatever, because it's right before COIC. So if you go to Redmond, you might as well do the 2. So I'm willing to just keep doing the 2 because it's just linked. You're in Redmond, you walk out of that room, you'll walk into the next room. That's kind of the way it works. So I'm willing to just keep that. So anyway.
And I've been doing the housing thing, so I'm happy to do that unless somebody's super excited
Well,
about
on the housing thing, Tammy has indicated to me that I could go anyway, and there is a faction in here in Crook County that we are not serving, and it's particularly children, and I'm very concerned about that. So I am going to probably, Tammy indicated I could go, and I'm very concerned about the children, so I would like to go. So I would, but that's up to you. Right now, we're just serving Redemption House, which I'm not saying that isn't a valuable resource, but I am really concerned about these children. So I want to go and lobby for them.
Yeah, no, I'd love to have you there.
Okay, so anyway, so yes.
Okay, so Commissioner Crawford will do regional housing, you'll attend.
Yeah, she told me there was no reason that I couldn't
And
attend,
then, okay, and then you'll
and she
do
was
the,
gonna send me information.
and you'll do COIC.
Yeah,
board
yeah,
and
because whatever the COAC is right before COIC, so it's stupid to have two commissioners driving to Redmond when it's an hour before the other one. I mean, it's just repeat.
Yeah.
So are you going, I'm confused. Seth was doing regional housing
Yes,
and you're going to do it now?
except whatever.
I'm
I
gonna
can
stay
go.
on it, but she's gonna attend. the
I can
meeting.
still go, but I am lobbying for the children, for sure, because we are
So
not
Seth will
using,
stay on as the
we're
representative
not using our
for Crook County
resources.
on
On that.
regional housing. We, CYC is asking for a response by the end of business today, so we'll get those forms filled out.
And then we
you know.
need to check with Steve Forrester, because he needs the city of Prineville to give
I
it
did.
to.
I did forward that letter from CYC.
And then
to-
the agriculture has been Tim DeBoot. So I'm not sure if Tim DeBoot has been contacted, if CYC contacts, I'm not sure about those other
Is that
ones.
something? I didn't
That was
see
on our form, if you look down below, so I'm not sure, do we
I'll follow up
contact?
with Tim to see
I'm
if
not sure
he's-
how that works.
He's been contacted.
Yeah,
Hey,
That's all I have. Thank you.
thank you. Any commissioner updates?
Just, talked a little bit about the budget meeting, but we're working on getting the secure rural schools. Super important for the county and,
Definitely.
working with Tim and the congressman. And, either get those dollars back or get, money back for, or, you know, at least the rules change so we can get back in the woods. I would prefer that, of course, but I think like our conversation before is pretty heavy lift, but I think it's important to show what the value is and what we've lost out over the years, so. Hopefully that'll help not only us, but all of Central Oregon, or all rural Oregon.
Commissioner?
I don't have really anything that I can think of.
I just briefly want to talk a little bit about FEMA, and I'll get together with Will on a particular Zoom meeting yesterday, and that was some conversations, and it's still kind of dead in the water, but a lot of demands on going forward and what the counties need to do. And there's a lot of pushback from the counties who are concerned about the need to measure 56 code amendment to do this, and FEMA's saying they're not gonna do anything about it, it's up to the counties. They're not the lawyers for the counties, and so a lot of frustration on there and no answers,
Yeah,
and it's a lot of confusion.
a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
No, happy to chat more about that. I think we need to continue to do what we can, knowing something's gonna come down on us that we have to comply with, but at the same time, I think we need to respectfully push back and make sure we're not taking on too much, as an organization and putting our citizens in a tough spot.
Yeah, that's another one I've been working with, Cliff Bench's office on, and he sees a real opportunity with the new administration to get things done, but I agree, we should just continue to be quietly, you know, follow what rules we have without really agreeing to anything until we are forced to. But I think there's a lot of things that FEMA's putting out there that are very false. The fact that they can just remove people's, I think there's a lot of scare tactics they're using, like that they can remove anybody's insurance without any kind of due diligence or any of that. I think the fact that they're breaking numerous state laws by implementing this is a real weak spot they have. And so I think we need to just be pragmatic about it and not maybe listen to everything they say. There's a lot of people out there that have different information.
Okay, we'll keep working on that. All I have. So I guess that concludes the interactive portion of the commissioner meeting. We go into executive session.
I'm gonna get another cup of coffee.
You wanna read into the script? It's on that
I
agenda,
will. Where is it?
right there in that paragraph. Right underneath executive session, I drop it in the agenda for you guys.
Well,
Crook County Board of
congratulations.
Commissioners will now meet in executive session under ORS 192-6602
Susie, you gotta be quiet.
to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend, shall not be allowed to attend the executive session except for 2D. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subjects of the sessions as previously announced. No decisions may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive sessions, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room.
So just so we have it on the recorder, this is under an executive session for 2D, so representative news media are not permitted to attend.
That's the next one, 2D, yes.
Okay, hold on, we're turning this off.
Thank you.
So, yeah, why don't I?
Go for it.
Yeah. It is Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. The Board of Commissioners of Crook County will convene out of executive session to meet under ORS 1926602D for a labor consultation. Representatives of news media and designated staff shall be allowed to, no, I'm sorry. Representatives of news media are not allowed to attend the executive session. Designated staff were allowed to attend the executive session, and all other audience members were asked to leave the room. No decision was made in the executive session. Now that the executive session is concluded, the County Board of Commissioners is welcoming the audience back into the room.
Where are we from here?
So I believe, based on the conversation in the executive session, the motion would be to delegate bargaining authority to the negotiating team as discussed in the executive session.
So moved.
Second?
Motion been made and second. Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
We make a motion to adjourn the executive session,
Open session.
Open session.
open session.
Second.
Motion made and second to adjourn. All in favor, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
See you later, alligator. I'm gonna go let my dog.